we just move on to something else here? Again, Mal, which you picked up, which is this story about journalism in... it's the Sunday Times, isn't it? Well, where I saw it, at least, on the Daily News, the newspaper, of course, for... Greater New York, and it was bugging me for half an hour this morning, which famous song sings about the daily, it's of course New York State of Mind, Billy Joel. It was so easy living day by day, out of touch with the rhythm and the blues, but now I need give and take the New York Times and the Daily News is the brilliant lyric in the New York State of Mind. And this is a story that the paper is, it's all but shut down effectively, isn't it? It's a shadow of its former self.
Yeah, at its height, it had 2 million readers a day.
Incredible.
And half of its newsroom went this week, apparently. That's just the owner said we need to ditch half. And it comes back to that question of, will old media be killed by the new? And throughout history, modern history, media's always been in a state of flux constantly. And you've got 3 phases. You've got reaction. Who is this new kid on the block trying to take my readership, my audience? Then you've got adaptation. I will learn from you and try to adapt to your audience. So radio arguably affected the way books were printed. Movies affected radio. TV affected the movies. The internet affected TV. And it's a cycle that's been ongoing. The final phase is always accommodation. Well, there's a new status quo. We have to learn to get on together. Let's work together. So right now there's a big push for paper books again. People were saying 2 years ago the paper book is dead. But the manufacture of ebooks now has stalled.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
And so books are on the rise. And so you've got this new status quo where each are trying to accommodate the other. There'll be a surge again for electronic print when they learn to gamify books, to give you an interactive game experience inside the book. They haven't done that yet. But even then, it's not the end of anything. It's not the end of print journalism in this case. We'll always need premium journalists who know how to connect the dots and make sense of the news.
Yes, but is that going to be on newsprint as we see it? That's
I think
the
it will be on both. I think that people will go... I guess I'm not the young age group anymore, but I would go to both. I have the apps, but there are times when I like to see something on paper. I like the layout of it. I like the feel of it. I think people will always do that.
I'd like to be as optimistic as you, but actually the generation... My daughters, I can't remember the last time they bought a newspaper. But they're very interested in news and current affairs and journalism. They just read it all online. But coming back to the Daily News story, I was trying to work out why have they struggled. I mean, the New York Times, on the other hand,
it's doing all right.
It's doing very well with its digital media.
Despite what Mr. Trump says.
Doing very well. Now, I think it's partly because of the quality of its journalism, frankly, and the quality of its investigations. And it's the go-to paper if you want to find out what's going wrong with Trump. The Daily News, on the other hand, is a kind of is a narrow New York paper, more like a regional paper, really, or even a local paper for New York. And I wonder what it is that they can do online that's going to make them premium. Do you know what I mean? People either prepared to pay for it or use it enough to generate advertising revenue. And I think it's a real issue for a lot of local papers, even the one here in Oxford, the Mail, which has quite a decent online readership. But how do you keep that balance going between a paper version and a digital version and carry on employing enough journalists to give the cachet if you want to charge for it online? And increasingly, people believe that in the end, everybody's going to have to charge online. The Guardian doesn't at the moment, but it's struggling with that strategy. The Times does. Yes. It's been very interesting to see what happens.
What's interesting about the generations and the idea that youngsters are never going to read a newspaper again is that there is something that's bucking the trend, which is this publication First News, which my children read, which is the newspaper for pre-teens and teens, which is brilliantly written. It's rather like BBC's Newsround, but in a print form. And their circulation now is well over a few million, I think. It's doing incredibly well. It's profitable. And I watch my 9-year-old and now my 7-year-old when it comes through the door once a week, sitting there
It's a weekly.
It's a weekly, and they're sitting there reading the newspaper each week.
Some of the times,
which I think is amazing.
Those types of papers are aggregators of other people's journalism.
Which is really interesting.
By permission. And you see that with newsy.com online. It's a great
and The Week has done very well as a publication too, which is interesting.